The death of a spouse is often encapsulated in simple sentences like, watching my world collapse. In Nigeria, stories abound of widows forced to go through harsh conditions, leaving her feeling rejected or abandoned, or her fate largely depending on the goodwill of her late husband's family. What about the psychological challenges of losing a loved one? Financial constraints when she's ripped off everything the late husband owns, the burden of raising children alone, and the cultural demands of widowhood during the period of mourning. For women who are not educated or have no skills to be self-reliant, it's a whole new chapter of sorrow. So today, our focus is on the plight of widows.
Yes, we have some guests who will be with us this morning. They will be talking about the plight of widows. We have our guest from FIDA and
yes, of course, we are going to have somebody who will be sharing with us her experiences as a widow.
As a widow, yeah. We've heard a lot of stories about widows and how they are maltreated. Sometimes they have to shave their heads. And some very inhuman treatment.
Yes, and we all know that death is inevitable.
Yes.
But if it happens, what becomes of the loved ones left behind? So that those are the issues.
Those are the issues we'll be looking at this morning. Yes. A very good morning to you and welcome to the program Midweek Connect. My name is Ufoma Esegine.
As always, I am Agatha Egwari Ojo. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Midweek Connect today.
Yes. Midweek Connect this morning, like we said, we shall be looking at the plight of widows, and we have a guest, a woman who has lost her husband, and what she went through when she lost her
or even how she's coping.
Yes, we'll look at all of that this morning, and we'll have our complimentary segments, the segments where we have the phone calls, where we open the lines. You can call, ask questions, make your contributions, your suggestions, just share your thoughts with us. And of course, we'll go to the streets, we'll find out what the people think about what we're discussing this morning. And like I always want to call it, the curtain raiser on the program this morning is the news tidbit.
All right, the federal government has arrested leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami SAN, made the disclosure to journalists Tuesday, and he revealed that Kanu was arrested and brought back to Nigeria on Sunday. He said the arrests followed a collaborative effort between security agencies in Nigeria and the Interpol. Malami further disclosed that Kanu would be taken before the Federal High Court in Abuja for continuation of his trial on charges bordering on terrorism, treasonable felony, unlawful possession of firearms, and management of an unlawful society. The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 5, Isaac Akimoyede, has urged media to ensure effective and balanced reportage, especially on issues bordering on security. The IG made the appeal when he paid the courtesy visit to management of NTA Benin Network Center.
Reporters, they look at one side of the matter and they don't look at the other side before they go to the public to report such cases. But I know that this is not the case with NTA. But I'm only using this opportunity to appeal to the other media houses that whenever they have news, especially when it has to do with security, it is important for them to get the other side of the story from the police before going to report.
Just want to assure you that we don't have problem with balancing our report. There are also other fundamental guidelines that we ensure that we comply with here in NTA. And so that's, we abide strictly by them, and that ensures that whatever report that comes out, that it's professionally done.
Away from security, Edo State government is to create a system where every citizen will have quality and effective healthcare services, irrespective of hospitals they use. This is as the state government says it will lay emphasis on basic primary healthcare. Governor Godwin Obaseki disclosed these new plans in a keynote address at the Edo State Healthcare Transformation Workshop in Government House.
As government, our emphasis will be on basic primary health care. That is where we will put the bulk of our resources. Thank God the federal government is aligned in that direction too, because that's your first contact with the healthcare system. So at that level, we will working with communities, because what Dr. Julie said, the point she was making is community ownership is key.
Those of us that are giving health services, we have to be more empathic and have compassion for our people.
It is to assist him achieve those transformational policies he has.
All right, Foma, that's the news tidbits.
Yes. Well, I think we'll just go on a break, and when we return, we shall have our guests who will be talking about the plight of widows in the country. Do stay with us.
Do you live in Aduawa and its environment? Or you need a conducive and open field in Aduawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduawa is the place for you. NTA Benin Aduawa has a large field for all your other events and ceremonies. Also, at NTA Corporate Headquarters, TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art, fully air-conditioned, ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set to ensure constant power supply. We also have the NTA Pavilion for all your outdoors events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable. Locations are easily accessible. Venues conducive and highly secure. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your event live. And above all, you can air your event on our award-winning programs like Events and Style. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
NTA Benin presents.
Hey guys, welcome to South 7 Jobs.
My baby, you know I learned from the best to the best. Oluwa na comforting me. When
we begin to have diarrhea, which of course can lead to severe health situation.
It scores the base.
From all of us, keep watching Schools Debates on NTA Benin Network Center.
I want to use this medium to appeal to the state citizens to always recognize the COVID-19 protocols.
A very warm welcome to you. This is Frontline.
The history that comes with NTA Benin has manifested.
It's another exciting time out right here on Praise Vibes.
You can't kakabo. No, we told them when or tihi. Okay, can I be aware all the way?
For these enlightening, educative, and entertaining programs, watch NTA Benin, the award-winning station. Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease that affects the respiratory system. Symptoms of coronavirus include fever, cough, shortness of breath. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia or breathing difficulties. The disease can be fatal, but that's mainly among older people with pre-existing conditions. The virus is transmitted through direct contact with respiratory droplets from an infected person and by touching surfaces that are contaminated. People should maintain at least 3 feet of distance between themselves and people especially those who are coughing, sneezing, or have a fever. To prevent the coronavirus infection, wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds using soap and running water or alcohol-based hand rub, sanitizer, or gel. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. You can also cough or sneeze into your flex elbow or use a tissue, then throw it in the bin immediately. Avoid crowded areas. Anyone who shows symptoms of the disease should visit the hospital immediately. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority Benin Network Center.
All right, thank you for staying tuned. The program is Midweek Connect. Yes, today we are talking plight of widows. When the phone lines are open, do well to call in, make your contributions and your suggestions on the program. And of course, a quick reminder that we are streaming live on our YouTube channel, NTA Benin. Be a part of the program wherever you are. Our guests are seated here. First, we have Lady Grace Osakwe. She's the co-founder, chairperson, Girls Power Initiative, GPI, and a widow of 12 years. Good morning, ma'am. You're welcome.
Good morning.
All right. And of course, we have Mrs. Florence Okundaye, Publicity Secretary, International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, Edo State Branch. Good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers of all.
All right. Now to kickstart discussions for today, let's take this backgrounder.
In Nigeria, the psychological torture of widows cannot be imagined, as their case is pathetic. Their experience from one community to another could be described as harrowing. Most times, many are uneducated, while others lack the basic skills to be self-reliant. Victims suffer all manners of ill treatment rooted in cultural and traditional practices that dehumanize them for marrying a man they choose to spend the rest of their lives with. In most communities in Nigeria, especially the southern states in Nigeria, they are seen as the prime suspects after the demise of their husbands. Those who lose their husbands through natural causes or accidents are not spared. They are oftentimes accused of witchcraft and are subjected to harmful practices, one of which is forcing them to drink the water their husbands were baited with, even after embalmment to prove their innocence, leading to many dire consequences for many. Indeed, the Nigerian environment is very hostile to widows. Besides subjecting them to inhuman and other degrading practices, many are dispossessed of their husbands' belongings and thrown into the streets, empty, not caring about the welfare and future of these fatherless children. However, the efforts of many non-governmental organizations and public-spirited individuals have not helped in solving this age-long problem. These and many more will form the basis of our discussion on Midweek Connect this Wednesday.
All right, thank you very much, Adogbeji, for that background there to launch our discussions for today. Lady Grace Osakwe, 12 years ago, you lost your spouse. Can you perhaps paint a picture of how the journey has been for you? What it was like then, what it is like now?
Yeah, what it was like then, it wasn't expected. Even on the day my husband passed on, he was getting better from his illness, so we were looking forward to the next day. It was actually even on a Good Friday. It was very traumatic because it was sudden. But I won't say my story is the story of the typical widow, going by what we just heard in the background, which is the typical Nigerian widow story. I had the support of my husband's family, the support of my family. We are Christians, so I didn't have negative experiences. My trauma was just losing my best friend without knowing it would happen. And then since then things have been also better than the typical widow's situation, because at 27 I had my last child. So I have 4 children, biological children, but my husband loved children, so we had actually other children we were fostering. But as at when he passed on at age 54, I was 48 then. Our last child was already a university graduate. So yeah, I didn't have to go through the stress of paying school fees alone. I have had the stress of course, not having him by my side to share my stories with, his physical absence, and of course, no matter how much I earn, he was a source of income also to the family, and I lost that with him going on. Of course, that made me poorer. Like the week of his passage, I had no idea how much he was spending on fuel until he passed. So at the end of the week, when I looked at how much had been spent on fuel for the gen, I said, I can't afford this. That's just an example. So no matter how much you earn, your spouse's earning is very, very important. So I would say I became poorer by his absence, but thankfully he did not leave me with so many expenses to carry on. So but the typical widow story is very different, because I see them, they are in my environment, they are in my church. A woman becomes widowed with 6 children and has no means of livelihood, and then the children have to change schools, because in short, sometimes they don't even change school, they don't go to school anymore, have to be withdrawn from school. So the Nigerian widow is actually a disadvantaged group that needs more attention than we currently have. Going by our numbers, we don't have a census to know how many, but you can see your street, how many men live riskier lives. So men also marry women younger than them. So the probability of the man dying before the woman is actually higher, which is why we have so many widows around, but they are so ignored, so impoverished. The children become a big issue, because the poor widow's child of today becomes a threat to tomorrow's society if the child is not able to be socialized into and trained into a responsible adult.
Okay. Yeah, now, from what you just said, I want to ask. You said a lot of them, like the widows, when the man passes, the children don't even go to school because the women don't work. Whose fault can we say that is?
The fault, ordinarily you say the fault is for both of them. There are a lot of men who feel threatened when their wives start to earn good money or start to earn money. Meanwhile, these same men do not build up their finances in a manner that would allow the women continue to maintain that livelihood that the man is maintaining. Say, I'm working, you don't need to work. And many women just stay there, not working. And then the man just passes on without a will, even if he has finances in his bank account, to go through probate is such that family will be impoverished for a while if he has resources, but many don't have. I give you the example, that man who doesn't want the wife to work, when he wants to travel for 3 days, he brings in additional money into the house and says, my dear, I'll be away for 3 days. This is in case there is need. And then he lives forever without that. So the fault is the man for not ensuring that his wife has a meaningful means of livelihood that could sustain the level, that standard of living that they have while he's around. And then 2, the fault is the woman's for being docile and showing her love by not thinking of her children. It is wrong for a woman of today to be a full-time housewife, and the woman has children. Then sometimes you find that, like now, having 6 children in today's society, if you are not going to steal to look after those children, what is the means of livelihood to do it? So even for 2, it is difficult. then I would say this, the fault actually is from the upbringing of that girl. If you brought up your daughter to have a voice, she would either not marry such a man that would make her to not have a means of livelihood, or she would be able to have the voice to negotiate to have a means of livelihood.
So it's a two-way thing: the man, the woman.
The man, the woman, the society, the parents, the upbringing that they got.
So it's a circle.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Sorry, before we go on, I want to ask Mrs. Okundaye. FIDA, I believe, by nature of the association, is passionate about women's cause. What have been your experiences in issues like this?
Okay. FIDA is an organization that is at the forefront fighting for the rights of women and children. First of all, we have carried out some sensitization about the rights of women and against violence, because this inhuman treatment of widows is a form of violence and discrimination against women.
Can you perhaps share with us
exactly
some stories
what I was going to ask before you
of what you
continue?
have
Yes.
seen in the course of pursuing for the rights of women?
Yes, there are a lot. Like, for example, there is a lady that lost her husband, and then the family of the man was asked to subject the woman into this torture by making her to drink the water that they use to bathe the corpse of the man for her to prove her innocence. These are some of the challenges that widows face. Yes, for Mrs. Grace Osakwe, thank God for the kind of family that she got married into. But to some, many other widows out there that are not opportune to have such family, they go through a lot. Some of them, the family of the husband, they cater with all the properties, leaving the woman and the children stranded. No care, no attention, or even forgetting that these children are your brother's children. They don't even care. So there are enormous challenges that the widows in Nigeria, they go through. There are also cases where the man's younger brother will want to remarry the elder brother's wife. And when the woman refuses, it becomes another problem.
Sorry to cut in.
So these are some of the things that we come and cross. And these widows, some of them don't want to, they are afraid because they feel, some of them feel it's norm. So they don't speak out, even though that there is a law prohibiting inhuman treatment of widows. You understand? Many women still don't come out. We also thank God that even the VAP law that was just passed, the VAP law, yes, also make provision, criminalizing all sorts of inhuman treatment against widows. But some widows still don't come out, maybe because of fear of my children. Like she said, as a woman, you need to empower yourself and speak out, have a voice. When you have a voice, that kind of thing will not happen to you. So you need to have a say, have a voice, speak out. So if you can't do it alone, there are organizations like us that will come out and support you. But if you don't speak out and you are there, they say, okay, eat this cola nut, drink this water. You continue to do it.
You see, I wanted you to really expatiate on some of these things that you say widows go through. What are from your experience, not just okay, drink the water. What are those things that they really go through after they lose their spouse? Because some people want to say these are cultural practices.
It is inhuman, unlawful traditional practices. It is an offense. It is barbaric. There are some practices that you say is tradition that is barbaric. It is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. A sane person, I don't know if I should use the word sane, you understand, but a person with sound mind, which of course is sane person, will tell a human being to drink the water that they use in bathing cups to drink? What about just for her to prove her innocence? Because like in Africa, not just in Nigeria, when a woman loses her husband, whether young age or old, they think the woman is the cause. Even it's part of societal ills. There's this discrimination. Outside the family, the widows also face this stigma as if she is the cause. From even counterpart, friends, you know, some people don't want to have relationship to deal with widows because there are this, maybe some of them have this belief, if I, mingle with her, I might lose my husband. Then even some men will not want to remarry, especially there are instances where we have young, very young widows who, for circumstances not beyond their control, not their cause, not their fault, maybe a young woman that of course should remarry, but because of this stigma, men are afraid
when,
to go there. So
yes,
there are lots
sometimes, you know, like I said, I was going to, you know, why I asked that question was, these are cultural things. Now, okay, they might be out of place, okay, from the angle of the law, okay, but these are cultural practices. Like a widow, just mentioned a woman who's very young and supposed to get married again, but because of stigma. And maybe that is why the culture says, oh, younger brother, take over. And like Madam said, some of them don't have a source of income.
The widow is an adult.
So,
and there are some instances.
I want you to come in there.
There are some instances where she's meant to mourn her husband, depending on the tribe or the culture. Some could go for as long as 6 months, just staying in an enclosed space, wearing, you know, dark-colored clothes.
May I say something?
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
Because of your bringing up that thing about culture, I was privileged to have led a research on widowhood practices as part of women's sexual and reproductive rights for the Beijing conference. Our presentation in Beijing included widowhood practices, and what I found, that's 1994. What that research showed us about Benin cultural practices that had to do with widows showed that if a man or a woman loses the spouse, the rights that they undergo are exactly the same. That's the culture from the beginning. But if there is suspicion of foul play, then there are additional rights that the man or the woman would undergo, and they are the same. But over time, as a result of women's powerlessness, the rights that are meant for both male or female when they lose their spouses now became the rights that men undergo, and the rights that are meant to be done when there is suspicion of foul play by both male or female now became the woman's widowhood rights. So when you say culture, you now start to think from where and how. So that, at least that we found in 1994, and this is so many years later. There is no reason why the widowhood rights for the woman should be different from the widowhood rights for the man. We should go back to culture
in addition
in that case. And then, of course, like she mentioned, there is a law before VAP. That was one of the things, you know, those days legislators want to make a difference, and Itula wanted to make a difference. Itula was one that spearheaded the the law against inhuman treatment of widows. And that law is there for us to utilize in defending ourselves when such situations arise. And the issue is, why are women not taking recourse to the law? It still boils down to the same powerlessness.
Yes.
The same powerlessness, because she looks at the situation and says, okay, what happens when I refuse to do this, and then the family would ignore me, the family will not pay the children's fees, I become an enemy to the family. She is so traumatized that she swallows her spit and decides to go through, forgetting that whether or not you go through, times are so hard that every man and woman is fending for themselves and will not have the resources to still fend for you. Poverty is part of it. It's part of why people are taking that easy way out. And you talked about inheritance, wife inheritance. The law is against wife inheritance. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Protocol on Women's Rights there, clearly nullifies wife inheritance. She's not part of the property
on what
to
basis?
be inherited. She's not part of the property.
She's not
yes.
a charter. She's not
now I understand what you're trying to say. Yes.
To inherit.
No,
If
it's not a property. Now I understand what she's trying to say.
If she agrees, she consents to it. Maybe that is their own business. That shouldn't be any law like you're talking about. Any traditional practices or customary law that is detrimental to the health. Because when you look at it, the health of the woman is even the health of the widow is at stake here. All through that time, she's passing through trauma, emotionally, psychologically, and otherwise. Now you are adding your own in the name under the guise of culture. So any culture that is detrimental to one should not be encouraged. It should be abolished. And thank God for the VAP law. The VAP law, even with the VAP law now, it's even expanded because the inhuman treatment of widows prohibition law of 2001 provides for imprisonment for 3 months for someone that perpetrated such acts. Okay. But with the VAP law, it expanded it to 4 years, with option of fine of 500,000 naira or both. So it is even better. So let's just leave the issue of the previous law, the law of inhuman treatment of widow. Look at the VAP law, which is very beautiful law. It talked about violence against persons prohibition law because it is a form of violence against person. It is violence against widows. So how will you subject a woman who just lost her husband, that is supposed, to be giving comfort, that is supposed to be giving encouragement, giving support, think of how she can, move on to another phase, because whether you like it or not, it's the first phase. Then you not say because of one culture that is barbaric, she must.
Okay, before we before we continue, I guess let's open the phone lines. The numbers to call are 081 2196931115 and 081 12951755. Yes, you have the lines displayed on the screen. Call in and be a part of the discussion. All right.
You said that wife inheritance was to prevent the impoverishment of the woman. Yes. It was actually to secure the wealth of the dead man within the family.
He is in bad faith, not in good faith at all. So
that wealth, that wealth.
What is the situation where the man was not wealthy?
No, they still inherit. They still inherit. It's a conditional. It is given as a condition for supporting the family. There should be no condition. The family deserves support because their son was the head of that family and he's no more. So they are supposed to look after their kith and kin.
Exactly.
It's their responsibility. To now put it as a condition, put the woman having to remarry in the family as a condition is wrong. And like she said, it's barbaric. You are not a woman, so you won't understand. Because oftentimes,
you know why I ask some of these questions?
They will say
it's just because these are things that most times when I know I'm coming on the show like this, a program like this, I go outside and ask people questions, and most times I come back here and ask the questions that they ask me outside. Because you say it's barbaric.
Yes.
Now. The man who stays in the village, who does not know VAP law,
or even a law in 2001,
and you're saying it's barbaric. For him, it is culture.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you understand?
That is where sensitization comes in.
Yes.
Like in 2020 during the International Widows Day,
Okay. Sorry, we'll continue. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Please, your name and where are you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you very much.
Please, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Sonny. I'm calling you from Airport Road.
Okay, go ahead, Sonny.
Madam Sakui, you are a mother indeed. Because I'm a servant, the kind of small talk I run around, I met you for the first time, I think in 2001. I know how many young girls you have been able to impart and brought up from the street. So I'm indeed very grateful to see you again after a very long time. I want to say that the law you talked about right now, you can see that for me to watch you now, I have to use battery to watch this program. And you just imagine the information that is coming out from you and your second. How many women have the opportunity to listen to such instructions? Because you will find out that information actually indeed can deliver man from bondage. And something else I need to draw to your attention, I have been shouting it on various radio, that government need to do, especially for the widows. Last month, I transferred for the 2,000 naira to a widow who wants to sell oil business. This is palm oil. But before she can join the business, they said she need to settle union, and without that she will not be allowed to sell. Now we're not talking about the money to buy oil now. I had to go look for how to raise for the 2,000. She later settled 41,500 in Benin. Now that was a challenge that you see. I have another widow that was staying around us. When her husband died, the husband had for flat, they drove her away. The woman was caught in one room around and close to us here. She couldn't pay her, she had to run away. Then you have another one who was asked to sleep with the dead body for several days to prove that her hand is not in it. So if you look at some of this situation, I wonder if we have government, and you just talked about what the former speaker did in the State House of Assembly. I think such information, they will duplicate it and send it and let everybody see it. So that those who have an idea, when you find someone going through challenge, you can quickly reach out to the NGOs or the FIDA or anybody that could assist. If you can do that, that will help us. Because the issue of widow didn't start, the suffering of women didn't start from Nigeria. It started from during the time of the Bible. They caught two husband, man and woman in adultery. How come they brought only the woman? They didn't bring the man. You understand that kind of situation? So women have all gone through a lot. And if you look at First Timothy, Bible talks about widows should be taken care of. And to serve God, he says, visit the widows. So there are a lot that we can actually do, not to make life unbearable for them. I'll be glad if you can pass on this information so that we can make a photocopy of those information and also pass it around and see how we can help through the traditional rulers to tell the people that what they are doing is actually it's out of time. Okay. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Sonny.
Sonny is also stressing the importance of information dissemination.
Yes, you know,
people have to know the provisions of the law. That the law is there for them to help them.
Like last year, as I was saying, FIDA did, should I call it like a skit or sensitization? Yes, a skit to pass out information as to what widows pass through and to also inform the public that it is an offense, because many people don't even know that it is an offense.
All right. Hello, good morning. We can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
My name is Johnson Momodo. I'm calling from here.
All right.
Thank you for this interesting program.
Thank you.
Please, I want to ask, when we were growing up, women of those days, most of them grew up in a polygamous home with a lot of children. And most of them were very hard working. Most of them even work hard to take care of themselves and the children, even their husbands. Then, if a man dies like the breadwinner, women of those days, they don't really feel it like this generation of women. You see, what I feel in all this is that there are more lazy women now than ever before. And so this laziness, it has become a serious problem to men now, because if you see marriages now, you see that even men are even more hardworking than women. Men are the ones now who are even making everything to ensure that the family survives than women. A lot of women just want to sit at home. Every Sunday, every other day, they wear good clothes and go out. They are not bothered. And that is why you find out that there are a lot of married women now who are into prostitution. And these are issues of culture. There's no woman does these things. Now they do all type of terrible things, thereby making life even more difficult for the man. And so these are issues that nobody is talking about. See, because those days culture was even more effective than now, and everybody has so much regard for culture. Those days, no married woman will go and flirt. You are married, you and your husband have to go and do prostitution.
Okay.
Now, almost, I'm very careful with this word. Almost every married woman now, they have one man friend or the other everywhere. And the man can't see anything. He's destroying the home and the family.
Thank you. I think you made your point. Yes.
What he's saying, that's strictly his view.
Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you. That
yes, you can
go out sometimes and you get some of this kind of.
You can respond to that.
He's looking in from the outside. Study. I talk about studies. Studies have shown that this generation of men, some of them even traffic their wives into prostitution.
Yes.
So men, you are looking from the outside. That man may have sent his wife to go and do the prostitution that you are seeing, but you don't know how far. The issue of our fathers, those men you saw who were polygamous, do you know that they ensured that while they were alive, either they built houses that would go around all the doors. He has 4 wives, so he has 4 doors. Or he supports the woman to ensure that she has a house, knowing that that house he's living in belongs to the first son. So the men you are talking about who were polygamous, they were not like the men of today, because they were conscious of the fact that when they pass on, this is how inheritance is likely to this is how culture is likely to disinherit their wives, and then they support them to have houses. I'm talking about the 60s and 70s. I saw it in the 70s.
Let's take this call. Hello.
Good morning.
Thank you for picking my call.
Yes, thank you. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Sonny. I called back.
Oh, okay.
I called back not because I want to, everybody is entitled to his opinion, but I think you are looking at the plight of the widows. And when it comes to the time to take statistics, which man does better, what woman did not do, I think we'll be able to talk about that. But right now, let's channel our energy towards the plight of the widows, so that we will not miss the whole situation.
Exactly.
Although I'm not registered, but I am a conflict resolution expert, and one of the area of my ministry is marriages. And if you can see me, I wish they can put my head to the computer. It's already over full. It's flowing out because of the information coming out from various homes. And I'm a market woman. If I say I'm a market man, it doesn't sound well, so I'm a market woman. I go to market every day. I've already left Lagos Street Alaba Market this morning. You need to see what women are doing just to keep their home intact. I just wanted to react. I say this with all humility and with all praise to God. Some women does not even know what it is to take care of themselves because of their family. And I can tell you there are some men who just live their life the way they want. One of the reasons why I had to say I will look for a lawyer to write a will. If I die, my wife decide what happened to me, not my brother, was because what I see last year during my father's burial. So I tell you, if you don't make this plan, you already planned for the woman to suffer. So to avoid that, we must make your plan. And it will be terrible anyway that what happened is, like I'm talking to you right now, my late brother, he said he would not allow his wife to work. And I said, no, that is not good enough. He didn't listen. But as I speak to you right now, I have also given a wife money twice. In 3 months, she couldn't manage over 100,000. You understand? That was because she became lazy, like the last caller said. But we're not going to look at that because Bible said we should remember the poor, remember widow. It didn't say whether they deserve or not deserve. So we're not looking at whether they didn't do well. But what can we do now to help them? I think we should look at that so that at the end of the day, our society will be a better society. Because those widow children can become armed robbers. Because of course, there are a lot of children.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sonny.
All right,
thank you, Sonny.
While
So
Sonny was making his contributions,
you said you wanted to react
yes,
to that.
I wanted to react to the point where the previous caller before this last one said women of this generation are lazy. So that is not true. I disagree vehemently because women of these days, many of them, they come to us, lawyers, professional women, doctors, with engineers. They will come to say, I am a graduate, I am a master degree holder. My husband said I shouldn't work. Those days, our fathers allow our mothers to work because it was just family. But now, because of, I see it like complex issues, fear of the unknown, because the man thinks if you allow this woman, because the kind of work we are talking about now is not farming. Now, this generation women, they go to school, they are educated. Many of them, let me use the word many of them now. Now you imagine a man working where he is earning maybe 50,000 naira, and the woman gets an appointment where he will be earning maybe millions of naira. Because of this, many men, because of this complex inferiority complex or fear, she will not become the man of the house. She will start to lord over me and all that. They'll say you will not work. And because the woman, because what will people say? Societal norms, what will my family say? They will say, okay, they'll be there, handicapped, when they actually have tools. When I mean tools, their certificates in their box. But because the man has subjected them to a kind of, and they want to save their marriage, they remain there.
Now,
God forbid something happens, the woman will now be looking for where to start from. That is the problem.
How do we begin to solve this problem?
Sensitization, just like as we are doing now. We keep on sensitizing the general public, sensitizing the women, while your daughter, the young girls, like what Mrs. Grace Osakwe is doing, catching them young. Let the women understand that you need to empower yourself. You need to, whether you want to go to school, you want to learn trade, you want to involve in handwork or whatever, do it well. Don't say because you are a woman, so you leave the whole responsibility for the man. Because you don't know what happened tomorrow. God forbid something happened tomorrow. You will just remain square zero. There are women, there are widows that are doing very well. There are widows, they take care of other children. There are widows, they do very well because those ones, they understand since what's, because the danger of what might just happened. We don't pray for it, but you need
since 1993 you said, or 95 when you did that, the study, 94, that study, and now, what would you say has been the plight of widows? Has it been an improvement or still the same thing?
I think more people are talking about it now than previously, but the poverty has increased between then and now.
Yes,
we are poorer now than previously. So even whatever is being done is not visible. The widow remains invisible. So there is need for planned action. I would say what government should do, what society and what family should do. The government itself has to have policy for widows. When we look at the disadvantage in the society, so we have youth policy, we have policies addressing issues of HIV, the issues of persons with disabilities. There is need for such policy framework on how the issue of widowhood should be addressed in the society, because it affects not just the widow but the children of the widow, which makes it something that goes beyond one generation, something that goes into the future. During on the 23rd, for instance, Edo State government said it will set up a team that would look into a trust fund for widow, something like that. But for example, that is not enough, because the same Edo State government is owing So many widows, their husbands' entitlement, the death entitlement of their husbands, because they are not paying the living, they feel it is not necessary to pay the dead. And this has put a lot of their widows in jeopardy. So if there is a policy framework, you find that the trust fund will be one thing, the ensuring that entitlements are processed when they should be processed will be another, empowerment of the widows, the training of their children will be another. There will be a framework. We need that at the government level. Then at the family level, nobody talks about widowhood, but any woman who is married to a man older than her, or married to a man that takes so much risk, stands the probability of becoming a widow. But they never think about it. Nobody talks about it. So there is need at the family level for the woman to factor that probability into her affairs. When you factor that probability into your affairs, then you ensure that, okay, there is a way of securing the assets that you are both gathering while he is still alive.
That's planning for the future now.
Yes, you plan for the future. There is a need to have the number of children. This is very important. Women should no longer have the number of children that their husband's means can cater for, but what their means can cater for. You don't have children because your husband is able. Have children the number that you know that you can comfortably take care of. That's at the family level. And then also at that family level, we have to bring up our girls and boys in a manner that they are mutually respectful of each other and they both have voices. Because a lot of women subject themselves to that widowhood practice even when it is against the law, because of the fear of the future. If I don't do this now, what will happen? When you bring up your daughter to ask questions and to be able to find justification for whatever she does, she will not go through unhealthy widowhood practices. So there's a need to bring up our boys and girls, and then she will also not perpetuate such practices on others, because many people say it's the women that make the other women.
I was going
they
there.
do
Yes.
it. They do it because they are agents of culture, and because they have not been brought up to question. Women have to learn to question, and then they should learn to also wear the shoe. What you are asking A to do, will you do it to yourself? Then
will you take it?
Which brings that,
Some of
that
them, they will
already
tell
brings
you
in
when
the
their
society.
husband died. Some of them will say they did it when their husband died, so you will do it too. Yes, in the village. Some of them, because it is the women that actually carry out the act under the instruction of the men. Go and shave her hair. Go and give her the water to drink. Go and use her to swear. That is it.
Change.
So let the change begins with us, and let us continue to sensitize them. Like the last caller has rightly said, we have a lot to do as per sensitization. Going to the villages, talk to the chiefs, you know,
So
and the
women
elders.
should be in this term their sister's keeper.
Yes, exactly. That should be the word.
And
Be your sister's
we
keeper.
talk to family heads. I didn't go through negative widowhood rights, but my mom, when my father died, she was told to pick someone in the family that she would marry, so she remains in the family. And she picked a 3-year-old child that she would marry that child, because she was no longer interested in having more children. She would have that child. But I'm sharing this because some things may look invisible. There were rights that were supposed to have been done, as in they were supposed to buy her a piece of cloth sealing that choice. For some reason, it wasn't done. And when it wasn't done, her parents now demanded that they should break kola for her. That's what you do. You just break a kola, now separating the living from the dead. Do you know the consequence, what that brought about? the family, the males in the family stayed away from us, from my mom's home, from all of us, because traditionally, culture, when they come to my mom's house, they cannot eat. And how do you go to where you cannot eat? So they stayed away. But I tell you, everything worked out well for our good, because my mom was able to struggle and take care of us, and we succeeded. But we then became part of the family. But that tradition is no longer in my family today, my paternal family, because the head of the family has forbidden it.
Okay.
So I am
family
bringing
heads.
in, yes, the family
heads.
we
Sensitizing
family heads.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Lady Grace Osakwe. We would have loved to continue your conversation, but time is not our friend. We have to call it a wrap on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of Midweek Connect. And of course, Fida, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until we see you next week, stay safe.